Hi, this is Tara Reed, and I'm so excited to show you how easy it is to make my new fishbowl candy domes. These things are fantastic for the fish cracker lover or the Swedish fish lover like me. They're great for party favors. You can turn them into a greeting card, put messages on the back, punch a hole in them, hang them on a bag for a gift tag. So many ways to use them. Anyway, I could go on all day about that, but let me show you how they work. And make sure, if you don't watch the whole video, that you skip to this time to learn the most important thing to do if you're putting unwrapped food or candy into this or any candy dome project. Let's get started. All right, I'm going to show you how easy it is to put together one of these fish cracker candy domes. And I'm going to teach you the things to watch out for if you put unwrapped food in one of these. Here's a hint. Because I put the fish crackers directly on paper, the grease started to seep through. This was after only 11 hours, so that's not going to work if you wanted to make these for a group or, make them ahead of time. You don't want that to happen, but I have figured out a fix. We're going to put saran wrap under the fish, and I'm going to show you exactly how. It's still going to look just as cute, and it's not going to get grease on the back paper, so that's going to look extra cute too. So here's what we need. You're going to need the design bundle, which has the things to cut with your Cricut, Silhouette, or any other cutting machine, the 4 layers of paper. This one was done with basic cardstock, and I'm going to do the demo today with glitter because I want to see how that looks. Then you're going to need a little piece of saran wrap. You're going to need half of a 3.15 inch fillable ornament plastic. It's designed to go in your Christmas tree and you can put stuff in there, but we're just going to use half, and there's a link below to find these on Amazon. Then you're going to need a half a cup of fish crackers, a glue gun, and tacky glue. So let's get started. Move these pieces out of the way. First, we're going to put the fish into the dome. And then if you were using wrapped candy, you would go to the next step. But because I'm using food that has some grease in it, as we previously discussed, I'm going to fold up a little piece of saran wrap, and I'm going to put it on top of the fish. And you want to make sure it covers every single fish. No little fish peeking out, or his oil will get, or her oil will get on the paper. So that's super simple. We're basically just creating a plastic barrier for the grease in the fish to the paper. So now we're going to put the backing right on top of this dome. Make sure that it's flat, and then we're going to turn it over. Now, the tip of the ornament you want to have kind of angled to the side. If you have it down here, this isn't going to glue together well. When you put the other layers of paper on, it's going to bubble weird down there. If you put it straight up, it bubbles a little bit too, I discovered, because I did that on this one. See how we have this little, I don't know, it just didn't go down as well. So best case scenario, you make it angle to one of the sides. Now, before you apply the glue, I'm going to turn on my glue gun. I just got this. I love it. It's a cordless one. We'll let that get heated up. It heats up really fast. We're going to put the glitter layer, or the water layer of the fishbowl, on top of the white, and we're going to get that to line up. And you would have noticed that this scooched a little bit. We don't want to just guess and then go to glue and have this totally cattywampus and not lined up at all. So you're going to line this up before you glue the dome down with the hot glue, which is already ready. Hold the dome, lift the paper off, don't move the dome. And I don't know why I left that on the left side of me, because I am right-handed. Force of habit, that's where my cord is when I had a corded one. And now we're just going to run a bead of hot glue around the bottom and make sure that it is touching the paper and the plastic dome. And that is going to secure the fish dome to the fish bowl. And you don't have to put it under. Sometimes people ask me, why aren't you putting the glue under the plastic and just doing it on the side? It's like caulking. We're just going to secure it this way. And hot glue dries so fast that if you tried to put it underneath on the bottom edge of this plastic and figure out exactly where it goes and put it down, it would be totally dry. So now this is nice and secure. See, not going anywhere. Oops. It was a little wet when I picked it up though. So we'll get that off later. Okay, there's two ways to do this. You can glue each layer one at a time. The water, the seaweed, and then this is, to represent the rocks at the bottom. But for this design, I think it's a little bit easier to glue these three pieces together first and then put it on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this lines up, and there's a little slice in the bottom and on each side of the seaweed where you can see that is going to line up with this dome circle. So I'm going to make sure that that's lining up, and I'm going to turn it over. All right, so I'm going to just do a little bit of tacky glue. You don't want it to be too much. You need a little bit more to stick to glitter than regular cardstock, but you don't want it to be so thick that it's going to bubble out and have glue on your glitter. Make sure you get the tips of these seaweed pieces so that they're not going to fold up and rip. All right, now I'm just going to place this down so that that bottom edge lines up here, and these edges are lining up with the edge of the circle, and then just press. You do have a little bit of time to scooch it to get it all lined up. And now we're just going to do the same thing with this layer, the orange. Although if you look, that's not lining up quite right, so I'm going to flip it over. And see, it lines up better this way. It's not symmetrical, totally symmetrical, because rocks never are. So you want to make sure you double check which way is going to line up and then flip it over and put the glue on the back instead of just throwing glue down and caution to the wind. So again, we're just going to line up the bottom edge and the edge of the dome cutout. So see, that's a lot easier to place when you don't have your goldfish in the way. I'm going to turn this over and we're going to do the same thing. Just going to put glue on the back. You also don't want to put too much because you don't want your paper to get too wet and warp. All right, and then final step is we're just going to put this over and line it up. I always line up the part that has the biggest distance from the dome. So in this case, it's going to be the top. I line that up first, because while these papers are cut to be exactly the same, once you put a dome and some hot glue in there, there's going to be a slight variation because it has to go over all of that. So you're just going to gently maneuver that. Don't press too hard where the tip of the dome is because you don't want to rip your paper. And that's it. So here is the same design and two very different looks using glitter or paper. And if you were making these for a class, they could be really cute. You could put the names on the top, a little harder on glitter, but you could write or cut out the name in your design software before you cut that layer of the bowl. But anyway, I think these are going to be a huge hit with the goldfish eating crowd. Let's make a fishbowl with Swedish fish so that the older kids are going to like it. Even though this is fantastic for the crowd that likes the goldfish crackers, we want it to work for others too. For this one, I've decided to use 3 of the 4 layers. I'm going to skip this bottom layer, which is supposed to be kind of like the rocks, and just keep it a little cleaner, but use glitter for the seaweed and the bottom. I just think it looks really pretty with just those 2 layers. Then this is the backing. I'm going to use some foam pop dots, tacky glue, a glue gun, a little bit of saran wrap, super, super important if you're ever using unwrapped food in one of these domes. And let me show you why. I used unwrapped goldfish in this one, and the grease is slowly going into all of the paper. This is less than a day in there, and it's just getting worse by the hour. So I figured out if you protect it with saran wrap, you're good to go. Put the fish in. I have like 9 fish. You could probably 10 or 11 in there, but I'm going to keep with 9. And then I'm just going to take the saran wrap and make sure the fish are completely covered. I didn't want to put them in a bag because I want them to look like that and not like they're wrapped within the dome. And that just kind of gives it a little water look. So that's why I chose to do this. But you need to make sure it's completely covered so none of those fish touch your paper. Now we're going to get the water and the seaweed ready. I'm going to glue this down. So I'm going to put it down and make sure it's lined up before I put any glue. Because what if I had it backwards? It doesn't line up perfectly that way. So always double check before you put your glue down, and then lift it and flip it. Now I'm going to use these little foam adhesive dots or squares so that my seaweed has a little bit of dimension. Now I did not do that on the kids' versions. I just glued them down because I thought with the dimension and a little kid, they're gonna pick it off. They're less likely to peel these off. But for this one, I'm assuming an older crowd for the Swedish Fish. This would be so cool for like an under the sea dance party, little party favor, maybe a Little Mermaid birthday party favor, anything to do with water, fish, ocean. This would be so cute. You want to make sure you get the edges. Let me grab some scissors. You want to make sure you get all these ends so that they're going to be nicely attached. And sometimes even these small ones, whoops, are a little bit big. So I'm going to just cut it in half and put those down. So now we're just going to line up this bottom edge, and then it's cut to fit perfectly on the sides of the dome as well. And just gently tap down where we have those dots, and you can see it gives it just a little bit more dimension. I love it. And if you were doing this for a party, you could add names up here, maybe write in glitter like a silver Sharpie, or you could create it on your machine. You could also add a name to be cut out of this layer in your cutting software, and then you could do a second layer like this with silver behind it so that the name was there. So many ways to up-level these projects, but this is literally 3 pieces of paper, a dome, pop dots, and some candy, and it's good to go.